What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Nightalize, or Jordan, or Knight, or whatever you like to call me. Got a new video today. It is a Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin review. This will be pretty quick because there's not really much to talk about with the game other than a couple of things. But first of all, I think the game was pretty damn fun. I really enjoyed my time with it. It was entertaining. I got out what I thought I was going to get out of it. A dumb, fun game with just some better than average combat and a stupid main character. Not really stupid, but after the ending, I think Jack's a badass. But I guess we'll get right into it. So I guess the first thing I want to say in the game is that if you know what you're getting into with this game, then it will be worth it. If you're coming into this game as a Final Fantasy non-game fan, if you're not a Final Fantasy fan, you come to this game and think oh my god, I get the Final Fantasy experience. No, it's not gonna happen. This is like a 2010 game where it's just cheesy, it's edgy, the combat's pretty good, but other than that, the story's convoluted. It's just it's like the most C tier, B minus game, and I mean that in a good way because I really enjoyed my time with the game. But if you're not a Final Fantasy fan, I think this would be a game where you're like, I should probably wait for a $30, $40 sale, and even then it's kind of who knows. But you gotta know what you're getting into when you're playing this game, because if you're coming into the game with a serious, this can be an intense Final Fantasy 14, FF9, FF10, whatever story, it's not gonna happen. So I guess the biggest thing, like I said, is the story. It's pretty convoluted, so apparently, well, not apparently, this is I'm not gonna spoil, it is supposed to be a prequel to FF1, Final Fantasy Origin. And apparently the FF1 story is pretty weird and lackluster, so them trying to ride off of that, I guess, didn't really help them in this cause. But it's the whole story of chaos and killing chaos or whatever. No spoilers, but that's the premise. And I think they did it in an alright way. The story really is very convoluted, and you won't understand half of it, or most of it, until the ending. But I think leading up to that ending and to that point, it is fun. The ending is wholesome. You kind of feel bad for the characters. It's emotional at the end. You're not fully crying or all aboard, but you still have some attachment to the characters because the banner between them and just Jack being stupid, killing chaos. She's shut the fuck up. He's got the one mind, the mission to kill chaos. That's all it is, and it still really is it's enjoyable. It's a fun time for me for the story, but at the end of the day, story-wise, it is convoluted, and if you're coming in for a deep story, it's not gonna happen. So to move on from the story part, which I'd probably give, like I said, a C. There's better stories out there. There's also way worse and more boring stories. I think this story, even though it is convoluted and kind of what the hell, this is stupid, it was more entertaining on a fun factor to experience it than a lot of other games that are better and more polished all around in all aspects, pretty much. I just like this one more because I'm more entertained and I'm not bored like some other games where you're just walking from corridor to corridor, which that's still what this game is, which leads me into the level design and the gameplay. So the level design is kind of just spawn here, start a level, and go to end of level. But I think the level design, I think it gets worse, honestly, throughout the game. It's not terrible. I've seen people complain about it a lot. For me, I didn't think it was too bad, but there are a couple levels where it's all the shit looks the same. And I think also that comes down to the low budget. I think the game was pretty low budget. Okay, we got to make this game. Final Fantasy Anniversary's coming up. We got to do something for something. I don't know. Let's make a Souls-like Neo game, and it's not really a Souls-like at all. It's just an action RPG. But let's crank something out. And it came out with this. So this was made by the Team Ninja, the Neo creators, B Team, which you can notice. Like I said, the level design is pretty eh. A lot of the corridors feel the same. A lot of reused assets for areas. That doesn't really bother me, but for your average gamer, it's fucking stupid. You'll get lost a lot. I got lost a lot. But it's still enjoyable. The levels are all individually based on a world or an area from previous Final Fantasy games. So each level is its own Final Fantasy world. So there's one from FF1 all the way through 15. You got it all. which is pretty dope. I've only played FF 14, 15, 10, 9, and 7 Remake, I think. Yeah. And so I didn't recognize all the levels. I didn't even recognize half of them, really. But I knew the ones from 9. Like, there's the woods from FF9. There's Mount Gigazet from 10. There's the big, like, final city castle area, like, end of the game building you're in with Noctis from 15. Sastasha from 14, like the first dungeon. I don't know why they picked Sastasha. It's fucking stupid. Even though, that little portion in the beginning of the game was pretty funny. Some interesting choices for locations, but also some good ones, like FF7 as well, the Mako reactor. That one was dope, even though the level design for that was like, this is all the same looking. It was still fun. If you're an FF fan, you'll love it. You'll think it's cool to see the new areas and better graphics for the older games. And I think it's pretty dope. But like I said in the beginning, if you're not a Final Fantasy fan to the core, this will be a interesting game to, I guess, recommend. It's really hard. Like I said, you have to know what you're getting into with this game to like fully, I guess, appreciate it or play it. I don't really know. But one of the final things is the combat. So when I played the demo about a year ago, was it a year ago? Maybe 8 months, whatever. The first demo that came out initially with the first trailer, the combat was pretty meh. It didn't really feel in depth. It just felt like your average action RPG combat. And granted, it's still your average action RPG combat. I think the final game's combat is pretty in depth. Like, there's a shit ton of jobs. There's your base jobs, like your Lancer, your fucking heavy. I don't remember the names, okay? But there's like your mage and whatever, and then it can go into like black mage or white mage. And then it can go to, like, Dark Knight or Dragoon. And then there's your Advanced, which then can do, like, it was like Void Knight or something. And there's, like, Sage. And then there's a Berserker. And there's other things. So there's, like, a 3-tier job list. And so you use these base jobs. You get them to a certain level, which then can bring you to the advanced jobs. And then you level up the advanced jobs. And you need, like, 2 or 3 advanced jobs to unlock an expert job. And it's pretty cool. They have a nice, vast range of abilities, I think, personally. And they all do the cool stuff. They look cool. They're flashy, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, they're all kind of similar, but there's still a pretty big variety, which I think that is the biggest thing about this game. Oh my god, we're 7 minutes in. I gotta end it here. But the biggest thing about this game that I really enjoyed was the combat. It was pretty fun. It kept me engaged. It wasn't like DMCA combat. It's kind of like DMCA? DMC, Devil May Cry combat. It's not that. DMC5 combat's phenomenal, but it's pretty good. It's enjoyable. It kept me intrigued. And I think it did its job. And other than that, the only other thing I have to say about the game is the inventory collection. What the fuck were they thinking when they did that, dude? Like, you have a 500 inventory space. And if you don't pick auto-collect off, your inventory will be filled in the first, 3-4 hours of the game. I turned it off to auto-pick-up only 4-star items and above. And I still had to empty my inventory from being max at 500, and I just went through multiple times, just deleting 200, 300 things at once. Granted, it's really easy to do it, so that's awesome. But there's just a shit ton of items everywhere in your face. I don't really have to worry about stats or upgrading stuff. There is an upgrade ability, and just upgrading things really just felt pointless to me. I didn't do it once. I literally didn't upgrade the item at all because it's very minimal. It was 0.5%, 0.4 for some stuff. And I was like, what? I don't see the point. But yeah, the upgrading was and the inventory thing definitely needs not changed. It's not going to get changed, but that was also a pain in the ass. But other than that, it's basically pretty much everything for the game. The game was pretty short. I beat it in 13 hours. Granted, I did 0 side missions. I did just the main story missions. And then the final couple of missions, I was kind of trying to get through them a little bit quicker. But if you do some side missions and take it a bit slower, you could probably pump out 20 hours for this game, maybe a bit even more. Honestly, seems like there's a nice chunk of side missions, and there's also a chaos difficulty once you beat it, so you can get another replay through the game. So you can probably get 20-25 hours with this game if you really like taking your time. But for me, like I said, it was 13 hours. That's probably the average main story only time, because I did struggle at the bosses. Some bosses were challenging, and they were actually very enjoyable. So some took me a couple tries, some took me 20-30 minutes to get done. That was only a couple, but the bosses aren't easy. They are challenging. They have their own little, mechanics and whatnot, which is fun. Not to a Souls aspect, but to a point where it's still differentiable between the bosses, which I did also really like that. The designs were also pretty dope. But it's not the longest game. I got this game not for free. I had a $60, gift card thing for PlayStation for a while, so I used it on this. So it was basically free, but not really. But I wouldn't be disappointed if I spent $60. Honestly, I think the ending of the game really was. It was so hype. Like it was really cool. They had My Way Frank Sinatra play at the end. It was freaking great. I have a clip on Twitter of me freaking out. If you want to check it out, I'll link it in the description. But that's pretty much it. 10 minutes. Holy shit. Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. I think it's a solid game. You know, the story's stupid, convoluted. The end is freaking awesome. It's great. It's super hype. The characters, you know, they're eh. Jack's awesome though. I would love to see Jack in like a Final Fantasy 14 collab or showing up in like more spin-off games, in like a Dissidia game, just because he just wants to kill chaos. That's all he wants to do. He's just a funny character to laugh at, just because he just doesn't give a shit. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. Stranger of Paradise, I would give it a, let's see, I don't know, I don't really plug it into anything, but I'd give it like a solid C. Maybe a C plus, B minus, maybe if you're a Final Fantasy fan. But if you are an FF fan and you're looking like on the fence to get the game, maybe wait for a sale. I still recommend it to FF fans just to see the locations, you know, upgraded in current gen kind of graphics. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you can kill chaos, because I've done that. Or maybe not, I don't know, no spoilers. But hope you guys enjoyed the review. It was longer than I thought, but, you know, the game was pretty fun. I enjoyed my time. I thought it was worth it, and hopefully you feel the same. Let me know how you guys think in the description. I will have my ending reaction up soon, or maybe it's up by now already. I don't actually know. But go check out the Elden Ring review. I have Kirby. I'll have a Kirby review out in probably like a week and a half. Tomorrow's a 24-hour stream. When you're watching this, it'll probably be over by now. But other than that, boys, thanks for watching, and adios.